say shake? You hear it?
Go. Why are we idiots?
Oh.
I don't care if nobody listens to these. It's freaking fun. Stop.
You know what the best part is?
What?
I recorded.
Stop it. These are like the outtakes here. Sounds horrible.
Oh
Ooh, no, don't do that. I will throw up. Literally, I would like that on the floor.
Oh my gosh. Are you going to wear the headphones?
I don't care.
Well, don't pull it out of the...
It'd be better. I wish we could... Does it have one or two headphone jacks?
We have to get the splitter.
Oh.
Hang on. We really are 12.
It's like... Listen. Have you ever heard somebody laugh and fart at the same time? It's like... it's like...
Oh my god. We're leaving this in.
We're definitely 12.
Welcome to the Go Somewhere podcast presented by Blue Falcon Whiskey and Flex Zone Supplements.
Too much fun.
Oh my gosh. So I wanted to start this one off with, we had posted up on the YDA Outdoors Instagram page. I'm out of breath from laughing.
Mm-hmm. I think it was me.
Who is it?
It is an email. Probably from someone for YDA Outdoors. Because that's all the emails I get for.
Please bring more fart content.
Can we hire you guys to make fart noises?
Farts.com. Well, one of the things the thing I want to talk about today is we posted up on the YDA Outdoors Instagram, why did you start fishing? So we're going to go through all of our responses. Much better than the first one of why did you start hunting? We had just as many listeners as we had responders to that post. So,
hey, at least my wife listened to it.
Yeah. Go ahead and tell everybody what your wife's response to our podcast was.
She says, you should call it, what is it, Go Somewhere podcast. You should say, Go Somewhere and Crap podcast.
And yet here we are starting this one off with... Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and read our responses. First person was at living_borderless. Thank you, living_borderless. So it's actually living then underscore. It's not all one word, so you get the picture. They said, been fishing since I was 4 or 5, but never learned how to fish.
Wait, what?
And they followed up with, my favorite story is when I was maybe 8 or 9. My brother, dad, and myself were out fishing on a large lake in a little 10-foot John boat when a big storm rolled in. It started lightning, raining, and thundering, and we head back to the dock. Well, we got stuck on a stump in the middle of the lake. I remember the lightning all around us, and my brother and I were both scared and rocking in the boat trying to get unstuck. Thankfully, another fisherman came up to our rescue and pulled us off the stump. I'll never forget that. Now that it's later in life, it was a fun and great experience.
Was that the same guy that said he
Yeah.
fishes all the time but never learned to fish? So how do you do that? Well, eventually if you're fishing now,
Well, I mean, I guess
you would learn.
Well, I guess people would say like fishing, like spinner baits and, not fake. What's the word I'm looking for? Artificial lures and stuff like that. That's actual fishing versus just live bait or cane poles or, whatever. You ever had anything like that where you thought you were going to die and then you got out of it and you're like, oh, I can laugh about this now?
Not in fishing stories.
Oh, I mean, just in general.
Great, yeah, probably a couple, but I mean, one definitely. When I was riding my motorcycle and me and a friend were racing, and all I had was a t-shirt and jeans on, and we were going really quick around this corner, about 10 minutes from my house, and
yeah,
we're like, all right, I'm going home. It's Sunday afternoon, and we were going back, and we were racing down. Well, he stopped, he slowed down, and I went in the curve, and the road was out with like a bunch of gravel.
Yeah.
So I picked the bike up because I was in a lean, and I picked it up, and as soon as I picked it up, it shot out it shot out underneath me, and I just rolled up the asphalt. They say as soon as I did, my shoes just shot out in the air and everything, and I thought I was gonna die. I was like, I'm dead. I'm done.
And this is it. This
and
is how it ends.
I was rolling enough for him to park his bike, and by the time I stopped rolling up the asphalt, he had come. He was like right there saying, "Are you okay?" And I just like took a breath and been like, "How's my bike?"
Oh my god!
And I got up and kept walking and started walking to it. That was horrible. I thought I was going to die, but
really lightening the mood here, Chad. All right, so next
you asked.
Next, we've got It's Strez. It's Strez, coming from Derek Strizelet. Derek S. at its_Strez said, last April and I'm ready for this spring.
That's it?
Yep.
That's the story?
Last April is why he started fishing. Good job, Derek.
Very nice story.
I just want to give a disclaimer, by the way. If you're going to be in the YDA tribe, you're going to catch a bunch of crap from us because that's just the way we talk to each other. So don't get your feelings hurt. You're in on the club with us too. So
speaking of that, I came up with the perfect shirt we're going to make.
Okay, go ahead.
This says, what did I? Hang on. If we're making fun of each other, then we're friends. Or it was something like that. I should have wrote it down, but it's basically. If I'm not making fun of you, we're not friends, or
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Because everyone I know makes fun of me, and I make fun of everybody I know
that you like, at least.
Yeah. If I don't like you, I'm not making fun of you. I'm being nice.
This next one comes from at the business 20. So this is my friend Parker. He's lying, so don't listen to this shit. Been fishing since 3 or 4 years old. Most favorite stories, involved my dad. Too many to tell. One of our favorite traditions was when we lived in the same city for about a year. Once or twice a week we would grab a 6-pack of Budweiser and meet at my uncle's pond after work. The rule was you couldn't open a beer until you caught a bass. Most of the time we left with 6 empty cans. It's a great story in alcoholism, Parker.
Did you actually catch 6 bass, or did you just drink?
Did you just catch one just so you could pound 6 Bud Heavies?
Right.
Either way, I'm not judging you, man. Oh, man, I hope he actually listens to the podcast. Is the funny thing.
Oh, hey.
He actually listened to the first one, so we appreciate that. And he asked when the second one was coming out, so.
Very good.
He's a good
Keep
dude.
on listening.
Good dude. Thanks, Parker. We love you.
Yeah, thanks you. I've never met you, but thank you.
Yeah, he said he was going to buy a T-shirt. He never did. He's got one. I gave him one, but cheap bastard. All right, and next we've got...
Come on, Parker.
Next we've got Mallory Kalina. She said, been fishing since I was 2 or 3. My dad used to take me almost every weekend. Perks of growing up in a small town in northeast Utah that is 5 to 30 minutes from a dozen lakes. Good Lord, that's a beautiful way to grow up. Being just around a bunch of lakes. So
yeah, be nice.
Well, the one constant with all those responses, except Derek S., who said last April, Everyone kind of started fishing when they were like 3 or 4 years old. So when did you start fishing, Chad?
Probably when I was like, I went with my uncle one time. I think I was like 10, maybe.
Yeah.
Long time ago. Caught a little thing, and then I went deep sea fishing with my aunt. God rest her soul. I love her. She was awesome. And my uncle Pat.
Mm-hmm.
They live in it's in Texas, Corpus Christi. Sorry, couldn't think of the name. And they owned 2 big old deep sea fishing boats that would go out every couple hours, and you could pay to go on that. Well, they rented our own private charter, and we went deep sea fishing, and we caught some sharks and a mahi. That was fun. And there was this big old fish. I don't know what it was called, but it would just, when you catch it, it just swims to the bottom of the ocean. And me being 14, I was like scrawny as a toothpick. And my uncle Pat was like, "Hey, here, I got one here. Reel this in." So they put the little belt on me, and I'm sitting there holding it. And I'm reeling this thing in, and it's trying to pull me off the boat. So I got my Uncle Pat on one side, and I got cousin Sean on the other side. Just like they're both holding me in the boat, so I don't go in with this thing. And a couple minutes later, we finally get that thing up in there. But that was fun. I mean, I enjoyed it. And then I would go a couple times here and there after that. Can you hear that in the thing? Oh, that's weird.
Oh, man.
Sorry, my watch distracted us. So I'd go a couple times, but I would never catch anything with anybody because like everybody I would go with never knew how to fish. So I was telling you, like today when we went fishing, like I would buy a nice pole. I'd go like 2 times and then never use it again.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's why, this last year when we started going, I was like, that's why I bought this piecemeal thing. It's good. It works, but it's not like the greatest.
Right.
So this year, now that, I'm really into it this year, I've like all winter, that's all I've wanted to do is like go fishing, even like over hunting.
Yeah.
And I know it's bad, but
that's not bad. I mean, I feel like everybody at least goes fishing when they're like 3 or 4 with their dad or their uncle or something. And then I feel like a lot of people don't really start doing it until they're in their like 20s.
Yep.
Like they just kind of do it to get out and hang out with friends and do that kind of stuff, which is great. I mean, that's, that's why we hunt. That's why we fish, is because we get to hang out with each other and do something really fun.
Yeah.
I think, my dad, growing up, my dad loved to fish. He never really got the opportunity to do it a lot. He was always doing something around the house. That's, having 3 boys, he's stuck doing something around the house every weekend. But I think when I was like 3 or 4, we went fishing, and I feel like even, one of the family stories we always tell is my older brother Andrew, when he was 3 or 4, they were all fishing, and he caught a couple of fish on a Snoopy fishing pole, and my grandpa was like, "Well, damn, I need to get me one of those Snoopy fishing poles." But dude, when I was like, my grandpa passed away when I was like 9, that's why I started hunting, was because he passed away, and he had always hunted. I did sort of the same thing because I got his tackle box. And so when I was like 9, 10, 11 years old, dude, every summer I would go spend the week with my aunt because she had a pond in her backyard. And I'd stay out there for like from sun up till sundown, just fishing and fishing and fishing and fishing, just trying to figure it out. And I don't know, man, I fell in love with it. And it's always been something, I love hunting. And when it turns fall, I'm a different person. It's hard for me to get up in the morning to go to work. It's hard even go to the gym, and I love going to the gym, but if hunting's on the line, dude, like I wake up before the alarm every single time. I'm just like, let's go. And I love fishing more than I love hunting, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I know some people think that's crazy, but I love fishing, and I'll do it till, at the risk of getting freaking heat stroke out there just sweating to death. I love it so much.
Well, I was like last year when me and you went, and it started getting dark out, and you threw one out, or you catch, and then I started catching, and it was like back and forth. We were like catch, and it was like finally it was like almost like 9 o'clock, and my wife was like texting me like, "Oh, when you coming home?" And I was like, "I'm in the middle of catching right now."
Oh, and that's the thing. Like, if you're listening to this podcast, first of all, damn, thank you.
Yes.
But go to our Instagram, and if you scroll back to last,
I can look it up while we're doing this.
I think it's last May or June. There's a picture of Chad, and he's wearing a blue YDA Outdoors shirt, available at YDAOutdoors.com.
I think it's the nerd shirt, actually.
No, this was before the nerd shirt got made. Not the one where you're holding the big 3-pounder.
Oh.
It was like the first fish that you had caught in like 15 years. We went out to we went out to a peninsula, and I told Chad when we got there, I was like, right when the sun's going down, if we hit this peninsula, cast out into this grass, we're just going to start pulling them in. Well, he stayed, right where we parked.
April 14th.
Damn. April 14th.
Yeah, because there it is right here. It's the blue YDA shirt.
I was right.
Available at YDA's.
Yeah, it's a YDA.com. I went over there and I caught one, and then I screamed scoreboard at you. And I threw it back out, caught another one, and then I looked back and I couldn't see you, and I looked and you're just in a full sprint over to where I'm at.
Yeah.
And I was teaching you to cast because you hadn't done it in forever, and you were throwing plastics. You weren't throwing a weighted anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I cast out for you, and I was like, look, just wait a second, give it a couple twitches, and then bam, you'll get one. And I could feel it was starting to tug as I handed you the rod, and then, talking about tugging rods. And I handed it to you, and then bam, you caught one. But I mean, it was like you were a little kid, man. You were and you can see it
out of your hand. And I was like, "That's mine."
And you can see it in that picture. You're just it's just joy.
As a schoolgirl,
and it's just, it's a weird feeling.
mm-hmm.
It's just such a joyous feeling to have one. It's such a thrill.
Yeah, because before I would never catch anything going
Mm-hmm.
with other people that didn't know any fishing, and then I'm like, well, I've always wanted to go, but I'm like, I'm not gonna go because I don't know how to do it, and I don't know, and YouTube wasn't really big back then.
Mm-hmm.
Since I'm so old, or the YouTubes, the YouTubes wasn't there.
They didn't have fishing shows in color yet.
So I didn't be able to look or find out a way to do it, and
mm-hmm.
I'm not one to just go on the internet and start reading stuff because it's boring.
Yeah.
Anyways, but and then now, and then we met, and you're like, let's go fishing over here. I promise you'll catch something. So then we went, and we were using you had two old poles when we first went. You had bought one just new.
Yeah.
And then you had that old Zebco I used you gave me that I still have.
Mm-hmm.
And then your mom's pink fishing pole, me and Rod went. So.
Yeah, so that Zebco is actually, I'm pretty sure it was my grandpa's. I found it in the chicken house next door. It was just really old, and I took it and cleaned it up a little bit and used it for 2 or 3 years.
Still works. It's in my garage.
Yeah, but that's the thing. When I was I fished when I was 9 or 10, and I was using Canadian night crawlers and Georgia red wigglers, little live worms. When I got into high school, there was a group of guys I hung around with, and they said they loved to fish, so I started going with them. And dude, they all gave me crap because I was using an old Zebco 33 push button reel.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, oh, I got this Abu Garcia, and I got this, Shimano, and all this, bragging about the brands and stuff. And I was just using like I said, a push button Zebco, and my friend Will taught me how to use trick worms. And we would go fishing, and dude, I would just pull them in out of the water with that old Zebco. They would make fun of me. What's your gear ratio on that? 1-to-1? Well, number one, terrible joke. Okay, because anyway, so they just give me crap, and then I remember I caught a 6.5 pound bass off of a June bug trick worm with that push button Zebco. And for a long time, that was the biggest fish I'd ever caught. So, I mean, it's you can spend all the money in the world on a tackle box and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, if you're not catching fish, then, you know, you're not having fun necessarily. Then, what's the point?
Yeah. I just think you felt bad for me today because, like, I've been wanting to go fishing, like the past 3 weekends. And you're like, it's too cold, blah, blah, blah. And then, like, it was finally nice out today. Mm-hmm. You know, I guess you were just like, well, we'll just go.
I'll just shut this little bastard up.
He's like, I guess because I'm going to have to ask him to move. We might as well just go fish.
Yeah, damn. I got to help him move. Okay.
We're like, yeah, hey, I'm going to have to ask you to help me move. So let's go fishing.
Yeah, that's when you were like, well, so it was like 5 o'clock. You're like, so what do you want to do? And I was like, whatever you want to do, buddy. Yeah. Pat you on the back.
Yeah, it was like on the way to like, hey, yeah, tomorrow we need to go to the ranch and video and do this stuff. And then on the way there, he's like, oh yeah, by the way, we need to take this bed apart and move this bed. And it's. I was like, yeah, I've got.
But you got to go fishing, so it's cool. It's all good.
Yeah, it is.
And you know, like we always talk about, like we didn't catch anything, we didn't get any bites. It's still pretty cold.
But we did get some sick drone shots.
We did get some sick-ass drone shots you'll be seeing pretty soon. Mm-hmm. So.
Sorry.
Damn it, Chad. Okay, and then what's your best fishing memory, I guess? Which, I mean, you haven't been doing it as long as I have.
So, my best memory of fishing is my dad was renting this house, this little bitty red house in Houston, Georgia. And it was from this old guy. And across the street was this pond. Well, this old guy had a bunch of catfish in there. And then he would just, like, every day at, like, in the morning and at night, just go out there with dog food and just, like, throw it out. And then, like, these catfish would just come up and just, like, they're just like dogs, you know, just eating this. So one day he's like, hey, you want to go fishing over there? So my dad took me over there and we went fishing. And we caught the biggest catfish ever because this dude just fed them every day. So they were like, you know, like 14 inches or more bigger and like, you know, 6 inches around. Those things were huge. Well, to me, as I was little then, too, it was like, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a whale to me back then. Because I was like, probably like 11, 10 or 11, something like that then too. So to me, that was my favorite just because I got to catch some big old catfish. Wasn't no bass story, but.
I mean, it doesn't matter if it's bass. I mean, you know, if we got any friends up there in Wisconsin, you know, they're not going to be fishing for bass. They'll be catching pike or walleye.
I want to go ice fishing though.
Oh, absolutely. I want to call Joe Mason up.
Hey, Joe Mason, if you listen to this, take us ice fishing.
Joe. I would say my favorite memory, I guess, from fishing.
Out of the 5 million you have, probably?
Like, that's the thing. Like, I mean, I caught... It's not like anything where I caught, like, the biggest fish or anything like that.
Was it today when you took me out fishing and we just spent some like one-on-one time together?
Yeah, that's it. No, I'd
it's
say...
okay. I understand. It's cool.
I would probably say... it'd probably be one of two things. Number one, when I was, I guess, 13... my Uncle Terry, he's the one that had the pond in his backyard.
Oh, Terry. Oh, Lord, Terry.
Oh, God, I'm going to make you feel so bad in a second. So when he was, when he had lung cancer and he was on oxygen.
Oh man.
You feel like such a dick now.
Well, it was off of the YouTube thing or whatever where the guy was out in the wheelchair lighting the firework and it was going off and the guy and he's like, oh, Lord, Terry, what you doing? Sorry.
No,
I slapped my own hand. Bad chat.
No, my Uncle Terry, like, he knew I loved to fish, and like I you know, again, he was sick. I was spending like the weekend over there, and like I had just fished and fished and fished at their pond, and he took me to Lamar's because, it's right down the street pretty much. And he sat, God, I mean, it was like July. And he sat in the car or in his truck under a tree reading the newspaper and listening to the Braves game while I just fished and fished and fished until I couldn't take it anymore. And so that's probably one of them. And then when I was probably 19 or 20, like, my dad.
Mm-hmm. We need to have him on here one day.
Oh, good God, no. When I was like 19 or 20, I was like, I don't know why, like I was getting ready to go fishing. I was like, you want to go fishing? He was like, sure. And so it was just like, it was just sort of like, I'm almost a man, so to speak, and taking my old man fishing. It was just, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So probably one of those two. I'm glad I made you feel like a jerk.
I wasn't making fun of him. I was just making fun
I
of
know
the
you
things.
weren't. I know you weren't. It was just
So
funny.
bad.
So yeah. Well,
Way to depress us all. No, I'm just kidding.
let's leave it on a low note.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, that sounds good.
Well, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us on the Go Somewhere podcast presented by Blue Falcon Whiskey and Flex Zone Supplements. That's all the time we have for you today. So, Chad, I think it's time you said goodbye.
Goodbye, Chad. Stop that.